I really liked Osnet's word magical, because you've just suddenly made me feel alive, because I've been having a miserable day, coughing my lungs out, and just to see you all around the screen and to start the subject has made me very much alive. Thank you so much. Today is going to be exciting. We're going to take you back in a time machine. We'll travel all the way back to 1972, to the early days of the Gray Panthers and their founder, Maggie Kuhn, and investigate what we can bring back that's useful today. But before we get there, Osnet's got a few things to say to you.
Yeah, this is a little bit of a housekeeping. So as you know, you just saw, we are going to be recording, and the 50-50 structure. So what you should expect today is kind of a 50-50. It's more like 20-80 today. We want to leave a lot of space for people to speak and to share. So we're going to have a small introduction, and then we're going to go into breakout rooms, into general conversation, another breakout room to make sure that we can all share. So therefore, the call is going to be 1 hour and 15 minutes. We will finish 15 minutes after whatever full hour you have next on your calendar. We're on different time zones. If you have any comments, we're going to use chat. If you have any comments or questions, just put a capital Q or whatever when you start the sentence, and put it in chat. We'll be monitoring the chat. And also at the end of this session, we're going to share a link to a survey. We're really interested in what you have to say about what you will have just experienced, and applied to next two forward sessions. And we will also have a follow-up email with all kinds of links and things to keep us going. So before we start, since we have already 32 people here with us, we want to know, who are you today? So we have a couple of polls. And the first poll is, what was your age 50 years ago? Yeah, don't hesitate. There's nothing personal here. These are just ranges. Some of you may not have lived 50 years ago yet.
Manually doing the sprinklers, I got to figure out why they don't come on. Maybe now. We've had that controller since the days of lazy ass Jack, so maybe it needs to be replaced.
Lazy ass Jack.
Okay. I'm going to, we have most of you already answered, so I'm going to just end the poll and share the results so you can see where we are. Interesting, right?
That's for sure.
Yeah. Okay, so here's the next poll. The next poll is,
I don't know if we've had it.
when did you start?
Had it longer than that. I mean, maybe less time than that too.
No.
You may want to mute some people.
Yeah, if you're talking to somebody else, not to us, just keep yourself muted. So here's the next poll. When did you start focusing on issues related to well-being of older adults?
I'll just give you, for me personally, yeah, I did the poll, but I was like 3 years old.
All right. Okay. That kind of stops at the same place. So I'm going to end the poll and share the results so you can see.
These are very interesting results.
Yes. Yes. Everybody inhaled it? I'm going to stop sharing. And we have a third poll. And this poll is and I think this one you can scroll down. 50 years ago, these were the main issues of the day, and they still persist in 2022. And I ask you to choose the 2 top issues that most require attention now. So choose only 2.
These are great polls, Osnat.
You're
Can
welcome.
we poll them? You're gonna have to tell me how to do them.
Yeah, I'm taking screenshots of them and I will share them when we, in our follow-up mail. So don't hesitate, people, just continue clicking. We're almost there. This one is generating a lot more enthusiasm than the previous questions. Yeah, interesting, huh? So what do we see here as the top 4 so far is discriminatory aging and aging stereotypes. I'm going to close it. Okay, share the results. Okay, ageist stereotypes is by far the highest count. Then we have forced retirement age. We know in the US it was abolished, but in other countries it's still in place. Preventing cuts to Medicare and Social Security. You can probably, if you're in another country, you can replace it with your local schemes. And then segregation of older adults from mainstream society. So we can stay with these 4. Keep them in mind, and we're going to revisit them later. I'm just going to take a screenshot of that. So we have it. Yes, we're going to use it a little bit later again. Okay, I'm going to...
Osnat, can you include the question that didn't get any voting except from me, perhaps, and Jack?
Which one is that?
The convention, because there was a question about getting a convention to protect.
Yes, well, you know, it is kind of this next tier, and we can discuss later why it didn't get so many. I don't know, can you see?
Oh, I see. I'm sorry. I didn't move the arrow down. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry. I thought it wasn't on the screen.
No.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
It's a very inclusive poll. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing right now. And, you know, we will come back to this in a little bit in our common discussions. But right now, I'd like to pass it back to Moira to give us a little bit background of why we're here today and what we're going to talk about. And voila, Moira.
Voilà, merci beaucoup. We want to tell you a little bit about Maggie Kuhn, who was a radiant aging radical. It was in 1972, way before all the current fuss about healthy aging, the third age, 50 plus, and the power of AARP. Back in 1972, Maggie Kuhn turned 65 and was forced to retire. And to add insult to injury, they handed her a sewing machine as a gift. Anyway, she, being a rebel, immediately launched the Gray Panthers an activist group dedicated to recreating the image, the expectations, and roles of retirees in American society. Here, in a 1993 interview, 2 years before her death, she declared, "We discovered we had new freedoms as a result of retiring. Let's see what we can do to change the world through applying the 5 M's. The 5 M's are taking on the role of the mentor, mediator, monitor of public bodies, watching the City Hall, the President, and the State House, and motivator and mobilizer." Her message was very, very clear. Get involved, get active, and make a difference. How did the Gray Panthers, in fact, operate under her leadership? In fact, they used creative methods. The Gray Panthers were a non-violent group who operated through direct actions such as staging street demonstrations, monitoring of civil service, banks and insurance companies, organizing local and national media watches, and producing and publishing its own newspaper and radio and public TV programs. They also built coalitions. They ran joint campaigns with Ralph Nader's retired professional action group, the National Organization of Women, NOW, Hospice International, and the Union of Concerned Scientists, and many others. They went after tangible topics and targets, not abstract ones. The most notable success being the change of laws on forced retirement age. Maggie led the Gray Panthers for 23 tireless years. She died in 1995. After her death, activism became a more institutionalized form of political power. For example, when AARP lobbying began focusing exclusively on issues affecting older adults, the intergenerational aspect was not in the key message. This narrower agenda had unintended consequences. We started to see the older and the younger pitting their interests against each other. We started seeing ugly stereotyping between old and young. The issues that we saw in the poll are still the same and very much alive today. The question is it time to return to Kuhn's activist agenda, both age and young in action? How do we recreate intergenerational alliances for lasting changes in policies and in culture? Like the Gray Panthers, we need to go after urgent and specific goals that will benefit older adults of the present and the future. Osnet? Osnet, you...
Yeah, I'm on mute. Isn't it something? Yeah, this is a, every time I hear this, it really shakes me up again. Like, where has Maggie Kuhn been all my life? And I wasn't here when she was active. I was only, in 1972, I was only 16 years old, and I didn't think about older people because there weren't any around me. And so what we're going to do now is, do what we do best. We're going to share and discuss things around what we just heard about being radicals again. And we're going to spend the next 30 minutes in breakout rooms, some breakout rooms, some not, discussing one at a time, 3 questions. So the breakout rooms are going to be for 4 people, and there'll be 10 minutes each. So we're going to start with the first one. And I need to stop multitasking for a minute. So I would like the next 2 minutes to invite you, the audience, to say a few things until I say, hey, I'm ready. So whatever you heard so far, just you can comment on it. So I'm stopping multitasking.
I wanted to participate in some of this discussion. First of all, that was a great overview. And it was inspiration, which is basically what Gray Panthers is. It's that aspirational, inspirational component. And not only the historical aspect of what you're talking about, but also the where is it today and what had happened. The emphasis that you properly noted, the distinctive nature of Gray Panthers, has been the intergenerational bond. That is something that you definitely need to return to, aside from all of the important issues that we're talking about. But I just want to leave it there for the moment.
Are there any other hot off the mark comments? Francis?
I would.
Oh, Brian, please go ahead.
I'm sorry, I was going to raise my hand. I invited, there's a woman here in Minnesota who's a part of what's called the Aging with Gusto and the Vital Aging Network, who was a friend of Maggie. And so I invited her to come today, and she's got great stories. So I'm sorry she's not here.
Oh, that would have been lovely.
I also wanted to reference, the history of Gray Panthers and the particular things. You were referencing the newspaper.
Uh-huh.
Oh, can you see this?
No.
Hold on, maybe this is the actual newspaper. I don't know. Do you see it now?
No, you need to unblur your background.
Oh, okay, I will do that. Because a former Gray Panther had reached out to me and sent me this enormous trove of documents, letters, and all the rest of that stuff. So hold on one second, and I will. Let's try it now. So,
yeah.
I do have some of these treasures, the actual treasures themselves. Now, is that better?
Yeah.
So I do have many of these actual newspapers and other documents.
Can you hold it a bit closer, Jack? Excellent, thank you.
Okay, shall we see what Ian has to say? Ian, you have your hand up.
Thanks, Osnat. I wanted to first say that I found your polls very, very interesting. They're very well thought out. Congratulations on them. One of the polls spoke to issues that were relevant 50 years ago and still relevant, and I was interested to see that. I'd like to add, maybe not for today, but for the future, one issue that has arisen, in my opinion, over these 50 years. And that's the issue of older adults being able to access technology like this, the internet, computers, and learning how to use them. We 33 people are all quite fortunate. We can do it. But there is a large segment of society, older adults, who cannot and have found it very difficult through the pandemic because they could not. That's an issue I'd like to bring forward in the future. Thanks.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Louis?
Hi, Louis Tenenbaum. I'm driving. I apologize. But the thing is, I'm so excited and interested in this topic. I've been a fan. I've been, where are the Gray Panthers? Population. We have a lot of issues that we share. Maybe some we don't, but we have a lot of issues that we share. Why don't we take the political power? Now, I've been working on a federal bill in the United States about tax incentives to update your home. If we can just get the strength of our numbers behind anything like that, everybody knows we vote. Everybody knows that we vote, regularly and consistently. Why aren't we politically powerful? And I'll leave it to that and go back to driving.
Okay, I want to, first of all, interrupt, because this is a great conversation, but we can expand on it in the next half an hour in our breakout rooms and the things that we're going to do. One of the things that I'm going to share right now is this is a screenshot of the topics that we looked at before. If you take a look at this, maybe I have no way right now to transcribe it, but if you look at the issues and which ones of them we think still need to be addressed today in Gusto, and carry that with you into the breakout rooms. Because the first question, and I'm going to leave it here on the screen for a little bit, and while I tell you what the question of the first breakout room going to be. See that, okay. So I'm going to stop sharing for now. By the way, before we go there, if you are seeing only speaker view right now, on the upper right-hand corner of your big Zoom screen, there is a little icon called View, and you can toggle between speaker view and gallery view. So as you wish throughout the call. Gallery view allows you to see everybody and feel like you're all in the same room, and speaker view allows you to be one with the speaker. And you also note that we have the subtitles for those of you who need a little extra help. So the first question is, within the context of these issues that we just identified, which ones are the most urgent and specific goals? Which goals are the most urgent and specific in your community, region, or state? And I'll give you some examples. Like it could be older adults homelessness. The goal will be a community campaign to know who are the most vulnerable individual in your community, and how to connect them to housing resources. So the question is, and I'm going to put it in chat too, is within the context of each of these bigger issues, please identify the urgent and specific goals in your community, region, and state. So let me just put it in chat just in case I was a little convoluted here. Okay, so much for multitasking. Chat. Okay, there it is. So everybody understands what we're going to do. 10 minutes, you're going to discuss that, and then we're going to come back. And I'm going to open all the rooms. Wow, you're all back. Almost.
You brought us back.
This is the magic of Zoom.
Did you have fun?
Yes, we did. It was productive and very interesting.
Super. So this is not the end of it. Let's see. I think we recovered most.
Osnat, whilst people are still away, can we just ask people if they are not talking to mute, because the quality gets better when we all are muted and only the speaker is unmuted?
Brilliant. Could we please do it? Yes. So if you're not talking, unmute. I think we have everybody back. We lost a few people on the train here, but we have everybody back for this important question. We're going to stay in the big room for a couple of minutes, and just either raise your hand or start speaking. What were the most important insights? So this is not a report. What were the insights that came up for you in your conversation? If you dare.
Here?
Yep.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Whilst we at the initial discussion, it seemed like the issues in the West are not issues that we are dealing with in Africa, but as we were discussing, we realized there are common issues. For instance, issues around funding to enable older persons to age in place would cut across whether you are in the South or in the North. And then the issue around the use of technology. So there are commonalities, and I think it would go a long way. Older persons in Africa, we're told we are a minority, but if we are able to identify common issues that we can rally around, that would make our voices heard. Thank you.
Thank you, Melinda.
May I ask for our scribe to make some comments?
Yes.
Oh, you had a scribe.
We had a scribe. So what we came up with was a little different. I think that one thing we focused on, this is the things I heard as the scribe: change versus services. And I think that that's very important. We are in a place where at our stage in life, we can provide, I think, better provide change than services. We are, for the most part, the people on this call, not everyone, but mostly, we are old white people. How do we speak in such a way so that people who are not white find more of an interest in this message? We want to educate on healthy longevity so that we're able to maintain our dignity into our old age. And how do we become a powerful political force and change agents in this in current environment? Those were the issues that I heard us talk about.
That's a powerful summary.
Thank you, Jack.
Any other important insights that came out in your conversations? Any other group?
It was not one of the points on your list, but I thought I made the suggestion in our group that I think the whole global situation now of what's going on in the world is making it very hard for people with low incomes to survive in society. Heating costs, just living costs are dramatically rising, at least in Europe. And I think the older persons feel it most. And it's a crucial issue to just survive through the winter. And yeah.
Thank you, Jackie. Francis, and then we're going to go to Norman, and then we're going to move on.
Yes, Nabonki, I'm going to take the liberty of expressing our group's concerns. Nabonki raised a very, very important question about mental health, especially following COVID. She has had experience with older persons who one day has had some measure of financial security and then to lose it all because of fraudulent action where their money has been hacked, and older persons have ended up with nothing. So it seems as though, financial abuse is on the rise, and that has to be taken into account. And of course, that affects, social protection and social pensions and also care. Just to explain that, because I live in New York City and work with Jack, I'm very much involved at the global level, at the United Nations, where there is currently a General Assembly committee, a working group, to discuss the feasibility of having a global, an international legal instrument to protect the rights of older persons, that older persons should not be regarded just as recipient of welfare or medical rehabilitation, but older persons should be considered as rights holders. So it was an interesting question. So I posed a question to our group. Do you think a convention would make a difference? And I was quite shocked, and we didn't have enough time to discuss it further. And Edwin Smith, who lives in California, would say no, he didn't think a convention would make any difference at all. So I would like to put that question to the group at large as to how they feel about having a legal instrument that would protect the rights of older persons everywhere, no matter their economic or social situation. Thank you.
Thank you, Frances. And we'll come back to this question maybe in another 50-50. Today, we are going to keep it a little bit more diverse on all the other questions. And Norman, you have a comment, and then we're going to move on to the next point.
In the group that I was in, we were talking about the issue of making sure we have contact with people of different generation, if not for any other reason, just to make sure that everybody doesn't fall away if we are successful at living a ripe old life. But I think the larger issue here is just having people in your life, period. I mean, having intergenerational involvement is certainly helpful, but I think for a lot of people, the wider issue seems to be, at least for myself, I'm just talking from my own experience, I tend to gravitate towards a lot of things that don't involve other people at all. And I have to really make an effort to make sure that I include other people in some of the things that I'm doing. So I suspect that's probably an issue that comes up for many of us.
Yeah, thank you. I want to pause here on the insights from the previous conversation so we can have other ones. One question that I gleaned from the activities that the Gray Panthers and Maggie Kuhn used in the time that they were activists was that they created a lot of coalitions with other organizations where they shared greater purpose. So I'm going to put in chat the question, and I would like you to invite you to put in chat which other civil group do you share a larger purpose with. For a larger purpose would be universal health care, protecting the environment, promoting peace, civil rights, liberties, jobs and economic security. So if you think about beyond the interest of all the people, which other civil organizations do you share their larger purpose? So if you can just put it in chat, we can look at, we can see what we have here.
What we also need to do is to distinguish that between global and national.
I think right now, Jack, let's have the salad, whatever comes up, because as Malebo said, there are a lot of issues that are really, they're common no matter where you are.
Of course.
And maybe climate change is probably one of them. So we'll take a couple minutes and see what comes up in, what am I seeing here? Elder climate action, military veterans, advancement of science, more environmental issues. So if you know of a particular organizations that you are supporting rather than just a common purpose, that will be good too, so we can maybe even access them, because that will be connected to the next question. Okay, so I invite you to take kind of a gallery walk and look at all these, everything that came up here. And note to yourself if you recognize what kind of a common purpose you might discover in other people's organization. And we're going to go into another 10-minute breakout room. And I will pose two questions. So I already posed them in the chat. And the two questions are, what will it take to bring these groups into the conversation about age issues? So I saw that some of you already mentioned age-related organizations, but maybe you can think of some other ones who are not dealing with age today, and you can bring the age issues into their platform. I'll give you an example that Maggie Kuhn and the Gray Panthers changed the code of ethics of television media to include age. And we are talking today a lot about equity, diversity, and inclusion, which does not include age. And maybe it's a good idea to include age in there. So this is just an example. So the question is, the second question is, thank you very much. I love that one, Renis. The second question is, what will it take to invite age issues into these organizations? So we're going to go now to another round of breakout rooms, 10 minutes. I think you have different partners, and we'll come back in 10 minutes. See you soon.
Yay. On an internet session. Okay, bye-bye.
Oi.
Oi. Welcome back.
We managed to recuperate most of you. Excellent. I see smiles and concerns and frowns and all kinds of stuff, so it must have been a good conversation. You know, let's take the next 5 minutes and see. Let me see. Yes, and I have two questions for you, which I'm going to put in chat, which I just did. Is as before, what kind of insights emerged from your conversation? But I want to add another one. Maybe you want to address that one. How has your understanding or view on the issues, how have they changed or shifted, if at all? So we'll take 5 minutes for this, and then we'll wrap up.
Can you repeat
this is the time for you to speak.
Osna, can you repeat the question, please?
Yes, I'll repeat the question. I also put it in the chat. So there are two questions. One is then, what insights emerged from your conversation? So it's not necessarily a report of your group, just insights. And the second one is, how has your understanding or views of the issues changed or shifted?
You know, I wanted to just talk about our group. One of the things that came out of what we were talking about was how my own view kind of shifted. The importance of inclusion of other languages. We were talking about the perspective from Argentina, And what Sylvia was talking about was not just English. And that kind of inhibits some of that, because it's so much as English, it inhibits some of the conversation. And Francis was talking about persistence and infiltration, meaning that we should always have as many different opportunities to say, this has been omitted, this needs to be included.
Thank you.
Art Persico has his hand up for the longest time.
I just
Go ahead, Art.
Thank you. I just wanted to say I had an insight that it wasn't exactly, it was something I just thought of while we were talking, and that was we should also look for natural allies. Like young people desperately need us because they have environmental concerns and mental health issues right now. And an alliance between youth and age is what Maggie really, that was her meat and potatoes. So right now, with the current situation with the environment and with the mental health crisis in youth, that's probably related to that, we should think about our natural allies, the young people.
Yeah. So true.
And Francis alluded to that as well.
Yeah.
Good.
Any other person? I see there's a lot of activity there in the chat. Intergenerational is, it continues to be, they're the future elders, the future older adults. So this is definitely a place to start.
And we've got Carol Crooks with her hand up,
Yeah.
and Francis with her hand up.
Carol, go ahead.
Gray Panthers in Long Beach has quite a program with the local junior college. They have a lot of interns and they do a lot of intergenerational work there.
Francis?
Yes, certainly in New York, we haven't had, I don't think, we have had much success with intergenerational collaboration. Although in 2013, when we started discussing the Sustainable Development Goals, we as a group of older persons, the Stakeholder Group on Aging, we learned pretty fast that we should not pit one group against another. And we, as the older group, were the ones who collaborated with the children and youth group to talk about a life course approach.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed, younger people will get older, and what we're fighting for is for them, basically, because, we're not going to get it in our lifetime, I don't suppose, any equity or rights protected. But as time went on, I am sorry to say that the youth group or member states now have focused on youth at the expense of many of the other groups. At the moment, there is a proposal to start, they already have a youth envoy at the United Nations. They have, they're hoping to establish a big youth office headed by a high-level person. They have a youth forum during the Economic and Social Council. And so there's a lot of stuff going on for youth, by youth. And I, for one, feel a little bit left out. It's been very difficult to get our voices heard, older persons' voices heard in meetings, negotiations on youth. Of course, I'm not saying, we should ignore them. We certainly want to be collaborative. But I also want to point out that when Dr. Robert Butler at the Columbia University coined the word ageism, it was in the context of age discrimination against older persons. However, now ageism is applied to youth as well, which it should, because ageism affects everybody. And I want everybody to know that the World Health Organization has a campaign against ageism. And there's a report out on ageism. And also in context of somebody else's comment earlier about healthy aging, the World Health Organization has established a UN decade of healthy aging. So there's a lot of things going on there at the global level. But I just want to say that it's not easy to break into the youth group in order for them to support us as much as we are supporting them, because we're thinking about their futures. I certainly don't want my granddaughters to be fighting for the same thing that I've been fighting for the past 50 years. So anyway.
And Frances, I want to interrupt just because we are just about 2 minutes, 3 minutes before we end. So Jack and Jeff, I invite you to stay after we have the official close to hear what you say. We're going to continue to record, but right now, in the interest of respecting the time of those who cannot stay longer, I'm going to put in chat a couple of links. So Moira, do you want to just do the official wrap up, and then we will continue to stay here? Moira, you're on mute.
I'm mute, sorry, I'm unmuted. This has been, to me, a very, very interesting and dynamic conversation. And it is one that calls for us to go further and to go deeper and to get together. And I think I have what stays uppermost in my mind is what Louis Tenenbaum was saying, is that we can, if we all stand together, we have power and we can get things going. So let's just remember Maggie's 5 M's. Mentor, mediator, motivator, mobilizer. So sorry. And let us just all bear that in mind. In our next 50-50, we want to go further with this discussion. We want to dive deeper into ways to advance our urgent and specific goals. It's becoming, how can we become organized radicals? And how this could result in creating lasting positive changes in policies and in culture, and how this will benefit older adults from the present and from the future. Because I totally agree with what Frances is saying. We don't want in 50 years people to go back and say we're still fighting for the same things. We need to make progress. And what we need to do, and I can't go much further, is to be together and to use our vote and to collaborate. And that's all I can say at the moment.
Okay, we're going to save Moira right now. No more speaking there. But I want to say a couple of things. Thank you for being here. Again, we're going to stay for another 10 minutes after this official stop. I put in chat 2 links. One of them is kind of a recap of the Maggie Kuhn's legacy with some pictures. So click on that link and it will take you to that file. The second one is that please click on the feedback link and let us know what takeaways from today as an experience and what you'd like to see in the future. The recording will be available in a few days on our YouTube channel, and we're also going to send a follow-up note with all kinds of links and what you see here as well. And the next 50-50 is on October 17th, same time. And yeah, we are just about on time. So we are officially closing the call, and we're going to stay here for another 10 minutes to hear what has not been said yet.
Can I make just a suggestion for everybody? When we went into breakout groups, a lot of people didn't know each other and what organizations. Is there any way of getting a list of what the people who have been on Pass It On Network in the last sessions over the months, just to get their name and email address and what their interests are or their organization is, because then we wouldn't waste time trying to get to know each other in the short 10 minutes that we have, and everyone wanting to more or less say what they do. We would already be informed about that. It would be so important to get closer together and to find people who are interested in the same things.
So Jackie, this is excellent suggestion. What we can do in the follow-up email is put everybody's names and organizations if we know them. Email addresses is a little bit more sensitive, so we will not share email addresses, but we will share names and organization or country, whatever we know. If we don't know your organization, please send us a little note and say, hey, this is what it is, or you can put it in chat right now. So we are officially closed, so we can stay here and say what we want. And Jeff, I think you had something to say before. So we're still recording, so it will be on record.
Yes, I was, the last breakout, I was with Louis Tannenbaum, and we were talking about, my big issue is around awareness. I think that we have too many people who are in denial about aging. And until we wake up to the fact that we all are aging, we're not going to be very creative in addressing the issues that are impacting our lives. And so in talking with Louis, one of the things that he brought up, and you know, it's amazing, we all probably know these things, but sometimes we need to talk to one another to remember, oh yeah, you know, because part of the thing about raising awareness is that there are many people I come across who are very frustrated by the fact that people aren't listening. They don't hear it. They don't get what this is about. And that frustration really is deflating. But in talking with Louis, it really is a question perhaps of not only raising awareness, but of reframing the question or reframing the issue. So it's not about aging, it's about how what isn't being done is impacting the economic aspects of life. And if I have a vested interest in making a living, I might see this as an opportunity. So rather than being aware that aging is an issue, I'm more aware of the needs of that particular audience and how I can benefit from it, at the same time helping them have a better quality of life. And in terms of addressing this from an intergenerational perspective, there was one person on the call from Africa who said, you know, in my group, we don't necessarily share the same issues. I beg to differ. I think the issues that we talk about in terms of quality of life are universal issues and are ageless issues. And I think that may be how to look at this in terms of transportation, affordable housing, employment, safety, whatever it might be. Those are universal issues that impact you whether you're young or old and wherever you may live. So it really is a question of tweaking this a little bit. That's my perspective.
Thank you. Sylvia.
I wasn't I really resonate with what Jeff brings here, because we live with old-fashioned assumptions. So questioning this is super important, and having something very inclusive that is not directly linked to age. Because if you are 10, in some years you will be 30, 50, whatever, 100, whatever. It changes, but sustainability, financial health, amiabilities in our world, that's something that is addressing all of us. And inside of that, each one at his or her own age and pace and whatever. What we really need is cultural innovation. That's so, Jeff, thank you for bringing this in a way. I love you. What you said, just in case.
Malebo, putting you on the spot, you had such important comment before. Has anything changed in your, or evolved in your thinking so far on that?
It's not so much changing, it's just affirming the fact that conversations around aging and getting to know what other people are doing, as well as sharing practices and strategies and ideas around issues that seem to bother older persons, makes us realize the common issues, which would then assist us instead of working in silos to collectively work on programs or take action that would further the cause for older persons. Because I think by the sheer numbers, younger people are ahead because they are younger and they are many. But with the older persons who may not necessarily be that many, if we remain divided across our interests and not looking at identifying common issues, then we weaken our voices. And I think the Gray Panthers, for instance, were able to achieve what they did because they were able to identify common causes and then went and acted on those. Thank you.
I want to add something to this. Thank you very much for these thoughts. Just that one of the hallmarks of Maggie Kuhn and the Gray Panthers at the time was, and Francis mentioned it too, is that they did not pit old and young against each other. And it is something that maybe in recent past, we've been seeing it a lot.
What I wanted to, on that note, one of those notes, Francis properly alluded to the fact that there has been work towards establishing collaborations and using the UN as an example, not the reality, not the only reality. Even at the UN, we had been approached to do a collaboration on ageism as it affects youth and looking at that thing. However, we were just recently told that no, we're only going to focus on youth. We're not going to focus on older people and the connection. So this is all troublesome, and the only way to get this kind of thing moving, this is a lot of yelling, a lot of noise. That's the only thing that makes a difference is noise. The squeaky wheel gets the grease. The early bird.
Can you tell the story about your visit to Rome? About talking about squeaky wheel?
Well, which aspect of it? But
well, the one where you met with the official who said that older people are too nice.
Oh yeah, well that's a constant refrain that not just in Rome, but elsewhere, we have been told on numerous occasions at the global level, you guys, these things are on an individual diplomat or whatever it may be level, they go, you guys represent very important issues, part of the reason that you don't get the kind of traction to which you're entitled is because you guys are really nice. You're just too nice. So that is something that, and it's not just in Rome, but it's happened before. So I presume that's what you're talking about, Asnat, is that correct?
Yeah, and I'm just again going back to Maggie Kuhn, well, she's our hero today. Having the Gray Panthers being organized radicals, non-violent organized radicals. And what does it take to become organized radicals again? Not nice radicals, non-violent radicals, organized radicals, going after specific goals, not abstract ones. Yeah, go ahead.
What happened, Gray Panthers back in the day, this is my own assessment, is that the entire world was in upset. And there were these broad, big issues, whether they were issues, it was civil rights issues, whether it was in the US, the Vietnam War, racial inequities, the women's movement, LGBT started, all of these things, and age, the issues of age happened. And these huge movements over the course of decades, what has happened from my limited, it's gone into niche, meaning I'll use a synonym for that now, is silos.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's hard to replicate the importance of those broad issues to the silos.
Break the silos. Louis, you have a radical movement there.
We have said that the Gray Panthers were originally organized around common interest and action, political action. And I think we need to understand what those common interests and possible political actions are in order to gather the strength of our shared power. And with that shared power, we become a very interesting coalition member. So if we go to someone else's issue and say we're supportive, we are a member of that an issue, but that doesn't bring us power as a comprehensive group. We need to identify the issues that make us powerful because they resonate for us to take action. And from that, then we have power, we have history, we have experience that identifies us as someone that others want to coalesce with.
And Louis, I agree with you. And one of the things that I think might be a distinction is, are we about the power or are we about the influence?
The power is just organizing ourselves to be influential means having power. So when I started on my trek with the bill I've been working, the lobbyist I initially spoke to said, can you get these people on buses? Can you get these people down here to march? Because that's what speaks, the power of people being together on an issue that's focused on action. And once you demonstrate that kind of power, that kind of influence, then you are a force to be reckoned with. And we certainly have the numbers. So what are the common issues about which we can ask, demand action that's relevant for us so that we become a recognized force? At this point, we've all said it. The recognition is ageist. The recognition is of a bunch of little old people who are very nice and have a great deal of needs, which cost society a great deal. That's not power.
Right.
Louis, what you said was very powerful. And this is really what we're going to discuss in the next 50-50. How can we harness all of this to actually advance the issues that are really important, specific issues, specific goals, not abstract ones. Ageism is so big, You can park, 50 buses under it. What are the specific goals? Just like Maggie Kuhn and the Black Panthers did, they went after specific goals and knocked off issue by issue by issue, and we can do the same thing. So in the interest of everybody's time, we're going to close now the meeting, and we hope to see you on the 17th of October. And please take the survey and let us know what else is on your mind. And the other link is kind of recapping a little bit of the what Maggie Kuhn and the Black Panthers, the Gray Panthers, sorry, no longer black, but gray, accomplished in their time. Let us use it as an inspiration. So thank you very much.
Good. Thank you. Thank you so much, everybody. And back on this in October to go further and gather our forces.